A quiet evening settled over the wandering inn. The rain had already passed. Tiny drops still fell from the wooden roof, one after another. You stepped inside. Warmth greeted you immediately. The innkeeper rested one hand upon the old oak door. A gentle smile crossed his face. "I've always liked this door. It's welcomed countless travelers." His fingers moved slowly across the weathered wood. "I often wonder what it remembers." He opened the door. A cool evening breeze drifted inside. Nothing more. Then the old door quietly closed again. Walls shelter a home. He smiled. But doors remember the people. A warm cup of tea waited for you. The room smelled of cedar, honey, and the fading rain. For a little while, neither of you spoke. Silence belonged here. It always had. The innkeeper walked toward the tall bookshelf. He selected a journal wrapped in chestnut leather. A tiny brass key rested beneath its ribbon. He lifted it carefully. Not every key opens a lock. Some open a memory. He placed the little key beside your cup, then slowly opened the journal. The fire whispered softly. Beyond distant forests, beyond forgotten villages, a quiet child was about to discover that every door has a story waiting to be told. Far beyond the hills, there stood a quiet village. Old cottages rested beside narrow stone paths. Every home had a wooden door. Some were painted deep blue. Some had faded into soft gray. Others disappeared beneath climbing ivy. To most people, they were only doors. But to one quiet child, they were something more. One peaceful morning, the child reached for the door of a small bakery. The moment tiny fingers touched the wooden handle, something unexpected happened. A gentle whisper appeared. Not words, memories. The warm smell of fresh bread, a little girl laughing, an old baker humming before sunrise. The whispers were soft, almost like a dream. Then they were gone. The child slowly looked around. The baker kept smiling. Customers continued talking. No one had heard a thing. Life carried on just as it always had. Only the child knew that the old wooden door had been remembering. And from that morning on, every door became another story, waiting quietly for someone willing to listen. From that day on, the child became curious. Every afternoon, another door was waiting. The little bakery, the old schoolhouse, a tiny chapel beside the hill, the blacksmith's workshop. Each one remembered something different. One door carried joyful laughter. Another remembered quiet tears. Some whispered hopeful farewells. Others welcomed someone safely home. None of the memories stayed for long. Only a few gentle moments before fading like morning mist. The child never spoke about the whispers. Who would believe such a story? So the secret remained safely hidden. Day after day, door after door, another forgotten memory quietly found its voice, until a misty afternoon the path led beyond the village toward the silent cedar forest. The cedar forest felt different, cooler, quieter. Even the wind seemed to whisper more softly there. The child followed an old stone path. It twisted between towering trees covered with moss and ferns. Soon, the village disappeared behind the mist. There were no cottages, no gardens, no voices. Only the gentle song of birds and the distant sound of flowing water. Then something appeared ahead. Standing alone among the ancient trees was an old wooden door. There were no walls, no cottage, no fence, only the door. Its weathered wood was covered with soft green moss. Tiny white flowers bloomed around its frame. The brass handle caught a single beam of afternoon light. The child stopped. Every other door belonged somewhere. This one stood completely alone. Yet somehow it felt as though it had been waiting for a very long time. Slowly, the child stepped closer. The old door stood perfectly still. Time seemed to move differently here. No birds sang, even the breeze had grown quiet. With a deep breath, the child reached for the brass handle. It felt warm, as though another hand had only just let go. Gentle fingers rested against the weathered wood. The child waited. Every other door had whispered at once. This one remained silent. A moment passed, then another. Just as the child began to pull away, a single voice quietly appeared. Calm, gentle, unfamiliar, yet strangely close. It spoke only one sentence. Don't be afraid to open the door. The words faded into the forest. Silence returned. The child stood motionless. Somehow, the voice felt less like a stranger and more like someone who had been waiting all along. The child returned the next morning. The old door was still there, quiet, patient, waiting beneath the cedar trees. This time, there was no whisper, no mysterious voice, only the gentle sound of leaves moving overhead. The child touched the weathered wood once more. Nothing happened. Days became weeks, and every visit was the same. Silence. At first, it was disappointing. Then something changed. The child stopped waiting for the door to speak. Instead, there was time to notice the little things. Morning light resting upon the moss, tiny birds gathering near the roots, the soft scent of cedar after the rain, the quiet rhythm of the forest itself. Perhaps the old door had already shared what mattered most. Now it was simply teaching the child how to listen. Autumn quietly arrived. Golden leaves covered the old forest path. The child continued visiting the lonely door. Not every day, only when the heart felt full of questions. Each visit brought the same peaceful silence, until one cool evening the child rested a hand upon the weathered wood again. This time another whisper appeared, very soft, almost carried away by the wind. Every door opens twice. The child frowned. Twice? The forest offered no explanation. The whisper had already disappeared. Walking home beneath the falling leaves, the child thought about those words again and again. Perhaps one door opens with our hands, and another opens quietly inside our hearts. Winter came quietly. Snow rested upon the cedar branches. The lonely door stood exactly where it always had, untouched, unmoving. The child wondered how long it had been waiting there. Years, perhaps centuries. One afternoon, a weary traveler wandered into the forest. They paused before the old door, placed a hand upon the weathered wood, then smiled. No words were spoken. A moment later, the traveler turned around and slowly walked back the way they had come. The child watched from behind the cedar tree, curious. What did the door say? The traveler only smiled. It reminded me to where I belong. Then they quietly disappeared into the falling snow. For the first time, the child understood. The old door never told everyone the same story. It whispered only what each heart needed most. Spring returned to the valley. The snow quietly disappeared. Tiny white flowers bloomed around the old door once again. The child had grown a little taller, yet every visit felt just as peaceful. One morning, a small bird landed upon the weathered frame. It sang softly, then flew away. The child smiled. Even the forest seemed to know this place. A gentle hand rested upon the brass handle. The wood felt warm, almost familiar now. Then another whisper came, very quiet. Some doors don't lead somewhere, they lead to someone. The child stood still. The words lingered long after the whisper had faded. Walking home beneath the morning light, the child wondered who might be waiting behind a door not yet opened. The seasons continued to pass. The child continued to grow. Yet the old forest door never seemed to change. Its wood grew no older. Its brass handle never lost its gentle shine. One quiet evening, the child stood before it once again. The forest was wrapped in golden light. A hand rested softly upon the door. Another whisper came, calm, patient. You don't open every door the day you find it. The child closed their eyes. Some words needed time, not because they were difficult, but because the heart was still growing into them. As the sun slowly disappeared behind the cedar trees, the child smiled. Perhaps waiting was also part of the journey. Years quietly passed. The child was no longer so small. The path to the forest had become familiar. Every stone, every cedar tree, every gentle turn. One evening, the old door waited beneath a sky filled with stars. The child rested a hand upon the weathered wood. This time, the whisper came almost immediately, soft, steady. You'll understand when it's time. Nothing more. The forest became quiet again. The child smiled. There was no disappointment now. Some answers were never meant to arrive early. They were gifts waiting for the right season. As the first stars appeared above the valley, the child turned toward home, leaving the old door exactly as it had always been, patient, silent, and still waiting. One autumn afternoon, the child returned once more. Golden leaves covered the quiet forest floor. The old door stood peacefully beneath the cedars. Nothing had changed, or so it seemed. The child reached for the brass handle. A familiar warmth spread through gentle fingers. Then the whisper returned, clearer than ever before. The hardest door isn't in this forest. It's the one you've been afraid to open. The child slowly lowered a hand. There was no fear in the forest, no danger, only stillness. Perhaps the voice had never been speaking about this old wooden door. Perhaps it had always been speaking about life beyond the trees. The child carried those words for many years, never forgetting them, even when life became busy, even when the forest was far away. Then one day, a chance arrived. Beyond the village stood a road that led to places unknown. Many people dreamed of following it. Few ever did. The child stood at its beginning, heart beating quietly, eyes fixed on the distant hills. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the old whisper returned, not from the forest, not from the wind, but from somewhere deep inside. Don't be afraid to open the door. The child smiled, took one slow step forward, then another. Sometimes the first step is the only key we ever need. Many seasons came and went. The child became a young traveler. New towns appeared. New doors opened. Some welcomed friendship, some welcomed sorrow. Each one offered something to learn. Yet no door ever whispered quite like the old one in the cedar forest. One quiet evening, the traveler returned. The forest was unchanged. The old door still stood beneath the trees, waiting. A gentle hand rested on the weathered wood. This time, the familiar voice spoke once more, softly, almost like a smile. You came back. The traveler closed tired eyes. I said I would. The forest grew still. Sometimes coming home is another way of opening a new door. The traveler stood quietly before the old door. The forest felt as peaceful as ever, Cedar branches swayed gently overhead. Morning light filtered through the leaves. For a long while, nothing was said. Then, the traveler slowly reached for the handle. This time, the door opened, not with a sound, not with a burst of light, only enough to reveal a warm golden glow beyond. The traveler smiled. There was no need to step through. Some doors are opened simply to remind us that they always could be. The door slowly closed again. The forest returned to silence. And somehow, everything felt exactly as it should. The traveler looked into the gentle light. It felt warm, peaceful, familiar, yet nothing could be seen beyond it. No room, no garden, no hidden world, only quiet light. Then the voice returned, gentler than ever before. You were never searching for this door. You were searching for the courage to open your own. A slow breath filled the morning air. The traveler smiled. At last, the words made perfect sense. The old door had never been a destination. It had always been a reminder. Sometimes, the greatest journey begins long before we ever take the first step. The traveler gently let go of the brass handle. The old door closed by itself, softly, almost without a sound. Morning light settled across the cedar forest. A gentle breeze carried the scent of moss and pine. The traveler looked back one last time. The door stood quietly beneath the ancient trees, just as it always had. No longer mysterious, no longer distant, only peaceful. With a grateful smile, the traveler turned toward the forest path. There were still many roads ahead, many doors yet to find, but there was no longer any fear. Some doors change the places we enter. Others quietly change the person who walks away. Years passed quietly. The traveler visited many places. Some doors were carved from oak, some from stone. Some stood beneath castles, others belonged to tiny cottages. Every door welcomed a different story, yet whenever a hand rested upon the handle, there was only silence. The whispers had disappeared. At first, the traveler wondered why. Then came a gentle smile. Perhaps they had never truly belonged to the doors. Perhaps they had always been teaching one lesson. When the lesson was finally understood, the whispers were no longer needed. From that day on, every ordinary door felt extraordinary, not because it held a memory, but because it carried the quiet promise that something beautiful might be waiting on the other side. Long after the traveler had gone, the old door remained. It stood quietly beneath the cedar trees, spring after spring, winter after winter. Some travelers found it. Others walked past without ever noticing. A few placed a gentle hand upon the weathered wood, then quietly smiled before continuing their journey. Perhaps they heard a whisper. Perhaps they simply listened to their own hearts. No one could ever say. As evening settled across the forest, the last rays of sunlight touched the old brass handle. For just a moment it shimmered softly, as though remembering every hand, every hope, and every quiet beginning. Because every journey starts the same way, with one small choice to reach forward and open the door. The innkeeper gently closed the old journal. The tiny brass key rested quietly upon its cover. For a moment, neither of you spoke. The fire glowed softly. Outside, the evening breeze touched the old oak door. The innkeeper smiled. People often think a door separates one place from another. He slowly shook his head. I think it does something far kinder. It gives us the chance to begin again. He picked up the little brass key, then placed it back inside the journal. Not every door should be opened today, but when the time is right, I hope you won't be afraid. He returned the journal to its place on the shelf. As you finished the last sip of tea, the old front door quietly opened. Only a gentle breeze entered, nothing more. The innkeeper smiled toward the night. It seems another traveler has found their way. Outside, the stars shone peacefully above the wandering inn, and somewhere, deep within a quiet cedar forest, an old wooden door still waited, patiently, for the next heart ready to open.